Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope you had a great end of your quarter today. I wanted to do this daily recap video as a follow up to the weekly trading plan video that I did yesterday. Now, first off, I want to make sure this is really clear that this is in no way meant to be trading advice as far as giving you entries and exit points or anything like that. You need to find that on your own, essentially. We all have our own analysis that we're doing. Use that. The idea here is for me to give you an idea of what my approach is, and I have a repeatable process that has worked for me, and take what you can from it and maybe learn something if you can. Other than that, try to take anything else with a grain of salt, essentially. Anything when we talk about price levels and so on, and use your own analysis. That being said, we'll talk about what happened yesterday. As I told you in that video, I expected a gap down. The market was already open when I made that video, and we actually gapped up. The next thing I said was I expected it to fill down overnight, which it did for the most part. I mean, it came back up and made a high after the Chinese Open, really about an hour after the Chinese Open. I'll point this out. It's good to keep track of what other markets are doing, who's buying, who's selling. You can, if you look at my blog at e-miniweekly.com, you'll see a ticker on the right that shows all the different markets. So that's a good, useful tool. In the meantime, let's take a look at what they did. So as I mentioned, Asia ramped it up and then pushed it down back up at the European Open here at 3 o'clock. These are all Central Times, by the way. And then Europe did exactly what I thought they would do with it. They dropped it into a nice little buy entry here. I thought it would be lower. If you watched my video yesterday, I thought we would see the 50s again. We did not. You got to take what the market gives you sometimes. If it shows you a nice setup, you got to take it. So I'll show you what I did. You can see here at 8:03 this morning Central Time, I bought 29.6675, and you can see there. At the time, what I was seeing was the VIX rolling over. Pay good attention to the VIX. It's a useful tool. It tends to move first before the market. So if you find yourself, you think of yourself as a good technical analyst, you'd be able to see that happen before the market moves. So that's what happened, actually. If you look at if you flip over to the VIX, I like to watch the VIX futures. I think they're a little sharper. When we look at Monday morning, here it was rolling over at that 8:05. So I was ready to enter, even though it was a little early for me. I tend to only trade during the first 2 hours of New York session and the last hour of New York session. It's pretty rare that I jump in at other times, but I'm going to get back to that in just a minute because I kind of broke that rule today. You might have already seen it. Anyway, so the entry was great. It was really good execution, following my plan. It's exactly what I said I wanted to happen, and it did. So I jumped in, and market went my way almost immediately. Those are unicorn trades. Gotta love those. Rarely happen. But anyway, you saw this guy right here, and this is where I made poor execution on the exit because I saw this candle and viewed it as being a reversal, and I didn't know how far it would go down. That's one thing you need to keep in mind is when you see something like that happen, you try to think of what the potential is for the move before you make a knee-jerk reaction. In my case, I have a profit target every day of about $500 on the futures side. I carry a position of SPY in my main portfolio. I don't trade actively in there. And so if I miss out on a part of a move, I don't really care because this isn't the only game for me. Because I know that my SPY is getting all this love right here. And like I said, I have that profit target. If I make more, that's great. But for me to get more out of these trades, it pretty much has to go straight up. Had this section right here not happened, I would have been probably in a lot more profit. It was about $1,000 trade, actually, if I just hung in. Anyway, I got my $312 profit. What I was seeing there, as you see there, 73 at 920. What I was seeing there was the VIX turning back up. I mentioned I used the VIX to time the trade in. I used the VIX to time the trade out. It turned out to be the wrong move, but who cares? Got some money. And then we got to the European close. I was not going to chase this. Reason for that is once I made my trade for the morning, I'm done. I don't go chasing because I hate being in a position between 10:30 and 2. I try not to enter during those times either unless I see a setup I like. That happened today. So I wasn't in this. There's a reason for that. If you look, all this, the way I see it is this is about the time New York goes to lunch, Europe closes. This is just Ricky Retail and his charts trading this thing back and forth, and you end up with a big nothing burger by the time it's all over at 2 o'clock. You can see all of this action got wiped out by 2. We don't leave the big boys out. They get theirs, okay? Now, where I made my dumb move was right here, this buy order at 82.75 at 1:47 p.m. Central. That's this. I trade this setup all the time. I don't know why, because I keep getting skunked on it. I don't know, but in this case, I had a pretty loose stop because I feel pretty confident about the move forward. I don't recommend. I'm not going to tell you where my stop was because I don't recommend that you follow my risk management process because it might be different from yours. You may not be able to afford to watch a position go against you $700 or whatever. I think this one went against me $300 by at one point, but I have enough profit built up this year to where I'm not as concerned. And this was the last day of the month and a very good month for me, so wasn't that worried about it. So didn't have a really tight stop, so I didn't get stopped out on this. This is prototypical stop run. If you look, this area right here is about where retail guys like myself, of course I was up here, you might have been trying to buy right here, and you would have done what? You would have put your stop right here in this area below. That's a good risk management trade. Problem is that you're not the only one seeing this level. Guess who else sees it? Institutions. And so they agreed with you. So you were actually on the right track. I was on the right track, and by wanting to be long here. But they have really large orders compared to ours. I only trade one contract at a time because that's just my preference from a risk management standpoint. Sometimes I'll add 2 or 3, but for the most part in these little trades I'm doing one. Remember, I have my SPY position to carry me for everything else. Anyway, so they have these really large orders they need filled, so they send them to the market maker. Market maker is a computer, but anyway, has to fill it. The only way for it to get enough liquidity, if everybody's trying to buy here and nobody wants to sell, is to fill those orders below there, which is where all your stops are. And that's what happens. We get stopped out, and then it makes that ramp. So I did not get stopped out, luckily, and I ended up taking my profit somewhere in here, right here, 330. Anyway, the reason for that also looks kind of dumb in hindsight, but I have good reason for not holding positions through the 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock central hour when the market's closed, essentially. I don't like carrying trades overnight, or not overnight, over that closed period, because there's a lot of gaps happen at that time. I don't want to be a part of it. So I'd rather just have peace of mind and go trade again tomorrow, rather than be in on this move, which would have been nice. As you can see, China has ramped it, or Asia has ramped this up tonight. China just opened 2 minutes ago, and they seem to be hitting it, selling it a little bit. But anyway, that was sort of my expectation that this would happen. 92 is a heavy resistance area. I'll show you why. Let's go to a daily chart, and I'll talk about what my expectations for tomorrow and the rest of the week is going to be about the same. I'm not going to talk too much about the rest of the week. But for the rest of today, you can see we got a pretty bullish candle setting up. I don't think that it's just going to go parabolic on us. As you can see by the top of this guy right here, the September 27th candle was about 92.50. Happens to be the top today. Probably going to see some selling there. It could blast through. I don't know if this is news driven at this point because I've been making these videos. I haven't been paying attention. But if not, I would assume that we're going to roll over. You can kind of see all these candles are pretty tightly packed. You don't see a lot of just runaway candles. They tend to go kind of fill each other in a little bit. So I'll be looking for buys. Again, these are just my trades. You do your own analysis, have your own bias, but I'm looking for buys around here. This is the daily open, the gap basically from today. I would hope that it'd be there by the morning. If Europe does the same thing tonight that they did last night or this morning, I would expect to see the same thing. So I'll be looking for buys there. It doesn't mean I'm leaving a limit order. Don't think that's a good way to trade. Don't just dangle orders out there. I like to see how things are setting up at the levels that I like. I'd rather have some control over the situation. That's my preference. But anyway, that's what I'm looking for. I still see us moving up to this top of this candle, which is the September 24th candle at 3012 this week. We're probably going to run into some resistance in that 2990 to 3000 area that we're already in, and heavy resistance up there at 3012. But considering the way this week has started and we didn't see that low that I was expecting for this morning around there, the 2950s zone, I might have to adjust my targets for the week upward, but we shall see. Anyway, that's what I'm seeing. I wish you the best of luck, and manage your risk. And if these videos are helpful, just like and subscribe. Thank you.